Unit 4, the learning environment. This lesson will focus on the physical factors that should be considered when selecting and organizing a classroom, and on an instructor's teaching style and how he or she may modify that style to better provide an educational experience for his or her students. At the conclusion of this unit, you will be able to identify the environmental factors that influence student learning, evaluate a classroom for learning effectiveness, describe how to organize a classroom to maximize a student's learning potential, be able to describe the 4 basic teaching styles, identify ineffective teaching characteristics, and implement strategies to enhance your teaching skills. What is your environment? Well, basically, your environment is everything that surrounds you. It is what you see, smell, hear, feel, and interact with. Basically, it's everything. As an instructor, you want to create a learning environment focused on lesson objectives and free from distractions. No one single classroom will be the ultimate learning environment. Instructors need to look at a classroom and determine what distractions can and cannot be controlled. Let's take a look at the parts of the learning environment that an instructor can control. The very first thing we'll take a look at is what a student sees, or the visual environment. The visual environment should be attractive, clean, neat, colorful, and pleasing to the eye. Classrooms reflect the personality and capability of the instructor. It also should be functional. The visual environment should also teach or reinforce skills or concepts. All information and the instructor should be visible to all students, and posters displayed directly relate to the course topics. Should be motivating, raising students' awareness about the topic, stimulating, thought-provoking, and initiating student questions, strategically displayed and organized. Visual aids should be placed next to windows, near the pencil sharpener, but not in the rear of the classroom. Placing visual aids in these areas will help pull wandering eyes back on task. And finally, your classroom environment needs to be well lit. Students need to see materials at desks and displayed in the room. Take a moment and try to think of some visual distractions to instruction. These can include references to alcohol or tobacco, flashy advertisements for hunting or fur-taking equipment, trips, or business advertisements for hunting-related materials. Facility announcements such as tournaments, shooting events, and other social gatherings. Inappropriate materials. Materials that are not age appropriate for the students in the classroom. And finally, poorly lit classrooms. If students cannot see what is in front of them, they cannot learn what they're there to learn. Classroom preparation. things such as sharpening pencils, hanging posters, and checking audio-visual equipment, in addition to positioning your teaching materials such as desks and tables in the room. Equipment and machinery. Loud climate control systems, air conditioning, furnaces, phones or pagers, even certain overhead lightings that have a hum will be distracting to students. Conversations outside of instruction, such as parents talking to one another or other instructors in the room talking among themselves. Simultaneous activities at your facility. Inside the classroom, other activities being held there, club meetings, and other social gatherings. Outside activities could include things such as tournaments, field days, or other social gatherings outside. What strategies can instructors use to limit some of these auditory distractions? You can complete your classroom preparation well before students begin to arrive. When students arrive and are seated, announce established classroom rules that need to be followed. Keep all conversations to a minimum outside of the actual instruction. Ask students, parents, visitors, and other instructors to turn off or silence their cell phones or pagers while in the classroom. And schedule your classes so that they do not conflict with other activities being held at the facility. What are some other classroom features that influence instruction? Temperature and humidity. Research suggests that students are most alert when rooms are in the low 70s. Humidity may affect the comfort level of students as well. The ventilation in the classroom. Classrooms need to be well ventilated. And the arrangement of the classroom itself. This influences communication between instructors and the students. Let's take a look at classroom arrangement a little more closely. What are some considerations you should keep in mind when setting up your classroom? There are positive and negative considerations with certain classroom arrangements. Communication with students and among students for group activities. Movement by instructors and students in the classroom. Students' ability to see the instructors. Students' ability to hear the instructors. And visual distractions, such as those we've already discussed. Let's take a look at the three basic types of classroom arrangements. The first type is a traditional type of arrangement. Usually several rows of desks or tables and chairs, one behind the other. Desks, chairs, or tables are equidistant from each other, and the students all face in the same direction. Some of the strengths of this arrangement include it's very easy to set up. It evolved to use adequate lighting as best as possible, usually windows. It's best for straight information dissemination, in other words, lecture style. And the instructor is the primary focus of the students. Weaknesses of this arrangement include limiting student interaction with other students and the instructors, and you limit the student's personal space. The second type of arrangement is called a horseshoe or semicircle. It's a U-shaped arrangement of desks and tables side by side. One variation of this arrangement is having two rows of U-shaped desks, one inside the other. a double horseshoe. It's frequently employed in smaller classes, and students face toward the center of the U shape. The strengths include promoting student interaction with other students and the instructors, allows the instructors to freely move among the student group, it enhances one-on-one interaction with students, and increases students' view of demonstrations and activities in the class. Some weaknesses include time is needed to set this up. It creates a dead space in the center of the room if it's not utilized by the instructors. And some classrooms are just not designed for this expanded arrangement. The third type is called a modular arrangement. It's found most often in specialized classrooms, and the desks or tables are arranged into working groups. The strengths of this arrangement include best for student-to-student interaction, and it minimizes interference from other student groups. It's recommended for courses that require instructors to interact closely with individuals or groups rather than the entire class. Some of the weaknesses include you need extensive time to set this up. It eliminates the instructor as the focus of the course, hinders clear dissemination of information to all students, and it is difficult to set up in limited spaces. If you prefer to use the traditional arrangement, try using the horseshoe or semicircle classroom arrangement. Using this arrangement will allow you to interact more with your students and provide more focused instruction. No matter which type of arrangement is used, the effectiveness of the learning environment begins with classroom selection. Identify possible distractions before class begins. Here are a few final points to consider when selecting and setting up the classroom. The classroom shape and size. Avoid irregular shapes such as L-shaped rooms. These create blind spots in the class for the instructors and the students. Also avoid long and narrow rooms. Students are crammed into a small area and gives the appearance of being jammed into a cave. The size of the room should be large enough to comfortably accommodate all students and visitors. Traffic flow. Bathrooms and main entrances should be to the rear of the classroom. Electrical outlets. You should have enough electrical outlets to prevent multiple extension cords running through the classroom. Restroom facilities. Ensure that there are enough restroom facilities for all students of both genders. Unisex facilities are not recommended. If your facility has too many uncorrectable distractions or lacks basic requirements for an effective learning environment, you may want to consider other locations. The instructor is the key to creating an effective learning environment. Let's take a look at common teaching styles and some tips to become a better instructor. When you think of yourself as an instructor, how would you describe yourself? Let's take a look at 4 common types of teaching styles and see where you may fall in as an instructor. The authoritarian restricts student movement and actions in the classroom. Usually uses the traditional classroom arrangement. The class is quiet with little teacher-student interaction. Obedience without questioning why is the norm. Students are less likely to participate in activities, and the teacher makes all the decisions. This teaching style does not foster motivation, enthusiasm, or achievement. The authoritative style places limits and controls on students, but not to the extreme. Explains reasons for the controls or rules, but is firm and fair. Encourages independence and free thought, and is open to creative criticism. Promotes an open exchange of communication, if relevant to the course material, and encourages socially acceptable behavior. Also creating an atmosphere of self-reliant achievement and motivation while facilitating learning instead of just spewing out information. Indifferent. This type of instructor is not involved in the classroom, places few limits or controls on students, and discipline is lacking. Students appear to be uninterested in the course material, and they lack participation in the classroom or lessons. This type of instructor doesn't make an extra effort to foster learning and feels it's not worth it. They lack confidence and courage to discipline students, and students achieve little. This type of teacher allows any behavior so long as he or she isn't bothered. Laissez-faire. This type of teaching style places few demands or controls on students. This type of instructor is also less likely to monitor student behavior, may allow behaviors to get out of control, is too accepting of interruptions and poor behavior, and doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, wants to be the student's friend, is inconsistent with discipline, cares about the students, but doesn't focus on curriculum objectives. Of these four teaching styles, which one looks to be the most effective? Probably the most effective style is the authoritative style. It provides for control of the classroom, but does not prohibit enthusiasm and motivation for learning. Now let's go back to the question of who are you and what type of teacher are you? In the next few slides, we'll take you through a very short teacher styles profile to see where you may fall. Which style are you? Take a moment and respond to the following statements about teaching styles using this graded system. 1 means you strongly disagree with a statement. 2, you disagree. 3, you're neutral. 4, you agree. And 5, you strongly agree. On a piece of paper, number 1 to 12, for the 12 statements that we'll be looking at. Assign a number on how you feel about each of these statements. Now let's take a look at the last 6 statements. So, how do you think you did? Add the scores for the following statements. Statements 1, 3, and 9 are authoritarian. Statements 4, 8, and 11 are authoritative. 6, 10, and 12 are laissez-faire. And 2, 5, and 7 are indifferent. A high score in a particular style reflects a strong preference for that teaching style. It doesn't mean that you are that type of instructor. Were you surprised at the result of this activity? As you gain experience, your teaching styles may change. You may find that you become more focused or more diverse. Effective instructors have excellent communication and management skills. Here are some tips that you can use to enhance your skills and help you develop your teaching style. Develop a teaching voice. Do not yell to be heard, and speak very clearly. Use voice inflection to stress key points. Eliminate verbal pauses such as ah, and like. And don't repeatedly end sentences or phrases with all right or okay. Speak to the students, not at them. Don't be afraid to make eye contact with your students. And remember to try to call your students by name and not, hey you. Don't talk to the projection screen or the wall. Face the class when you are speaking. Don't tell endless stories. Although your stories of experiences may be interesting, they disrupt the flow of the lesson. And sometimes, just pause, catch your breath. Take a moment to think about what you will say next. Let's take a look at how you stand in front of your class. Your body language. Try to be calm. Don't be nervous. Signs of being nervous include pacing, hands in your pockets, rocking back and forth, or standing very rigid. Relax. Avoid crossing your arms. Crossed arms across your chest tells students you are uncomfortable, unsure, and possibly defensive. How you stand and move. Don't hide behind a table, a podium, or your AV equipment. It's not protecting you from anything. Move among your students as you teach. Interact with them. Move slowly. Slow is calm and precise. Show that you are proactive, not reactive. When turning to address a student concern or poor behavior, turn slowly from the top down. First your head, then shoulders, then your waist, and finally your feet. A slow, precise turn shows students you have their complete attention, or you mean business. And finally, some management techniques for your class. Set up before your students arrive. Your class rules should be developed to a standard and enforce them consistently. Time management. Use time management strategies to ensure classes are effective but not drawn out. One strategy is called backward planning. Plan your class from when it is to end to when the first lesson will begin. Questioning techniques. Use direct questioning. Ask a specific individual to check for content understanding. Use net questioning, asking the entire class to survey or to obtain information from the class. Allow students wait time of about 3 to 5 seconds to think about the question before answering it. Student behavior. Develop a sense of with-itness. Be aware of what is occurring in the classroom even when your back is turned. Be fair, be firm, and be consistent. Remain calm. Remember, calm is strength. Being upset shows weakness. It takes time and practice to hone your teaching skills. Try some of these tips and see how they work for you.